Welcome to the East County Sports Report, powered by eastcountysports.com. My name is Jon Owens, and I'm joined by Ramon Scott and Dave Dickens. Of course, this week, a lot of serious events taking place in the last few days. And Dave, you want to speak to that a little bit on behalf of eastcountysports.com?
Absolutely, John. I just want to send our hearts. We go out to Las Vegas, the incident that happened out there. We truly, we're keeping you in prayer, and we definitely hope for the best for all of you during your recovery.
Yeah, just amazing by how many people just in our own community that were touched by that, even family and friends that attended the concert. It's just literally such a horrific thing, and all of us are thinking about all those folks that have been affected.
I'm expecting tributes at each and every game this Friday night, and I'm sure we'll all be observing a moment of silence.
And sometimes sports can help heal a little bit, and obviously this is a big wound to heal. But sports can do some things to bring communities together. So thoughts and prayers to everybody just affected by this. You guys both had opportunities to get around the East County this week. And Ramon, you were at Steel Canyon versus Mira Mesa. Definitely a high-flying game, Mira Mesa coming in undefeated.
Right, and I think that was the story because Steel Canyon was in a position where maybe they could spring the upset. I mean, we said that maybe it was a good shot that they could do it. And Steel Canyon forced a fumble on the opening kickoff inside the 10-yard line, scored on the very next play, and basically outscored Mira Mesa by a 2-1 margin. The rest of the game, 52-26. Our athlete of the week, Thomas Fishburne, 4 touchdown passes. Maybe you can start calling him Touchdown Tommy. And a big win there for Steel Canyon this week. Great win.
Absolutely, and they're flying high. Of course, we'll be talking about them in Helix in a little bit. Dave, you headed down south to Mar Vista and watched Santana battle down there.
Yeah, and that was a great game. It was back and forth for quite a while. The key to Santana, I think they could have won that game, but they turned the ball over 6 times, 2 times on special teams and 4 times on offense. If you turn the ball over that many times, obviously it's going to be tough to come back from that, and especially with the Mar Vista squad that's got so much talent on their team. But like I said, it was back and forth. Santana kept it down to the line. I mean, they even blocked a couple of extra points. So they did everything possible regarding regardless of the turnovers. But Santana, I mean, they played their hearts out, but unfortunately they're at the short end of the stick. But I think they're just getting better. I mean, they won 3 games in a row up until that point. I think they're on the upward, though, heading into league.
Okay. And Ramon, you went over to Granite and El Cap. This game has been absolute crazy bananas the last few years in terms of being close. Didn't quite have that same outcome this time around.
Yeah, and it was homecoming over at Granite Hills. Like I said, the computers had El Cap slightly favored in that game, but I think it was unanimous, not only with us, but in the other media and pundits as well, picking Granite Hills to win that game. They did a nice job. It was homecoming, so that also fired them up a little bit, getting revenge for the previous year. And I wanted to just talk about before the game a nice tribute to Dr. Richard Butcher, who passed away over the last year. He passed away, but this was a chance to honor him at homecoming, and proud to say that Dr. Butcher, I miss him on the sidelines already. He was my personal care doctor for almost 10 years, so I miss you out there, Dr. Butcher, on the sidelines. Granite Hills went on to win the game, obviously. Great job. Jake Siegfried and Tyler Gonzalez just running all over El Capitan in that game. Almost 340 yards combined rushing. So big performance for the Eagles.
Of course, you can get more inside scoop on eastcountysports.com, stats, standings, all those great things right there on eastcountysports.com. All right, so we're in week 7. We're in league play now. Of course, the big one, I guess they're all big this week, but Helix and Steel Canyon.
I think the reason why this game now ends up being so big, I mean, Helix is obviously a big favorite, but all of a sudden, off that win, Steel Canyon, you could argue that maybe they're the 4th best team in the East County, kind of matching up there with Christian a little bit if you went down the order of the top teams locally. The Cougars had that big win, but get this note, Helix's opponents this season are 11-18, while the Cougars' opponents are 18-8. Now, we know that Helix is probably playing a tougher schedule, but I think the Cougars can have their moments here. The last 3 years, 41-0, 42-6, 41-0. That would seem to say that Helix might be favored in this game by 4 or 5 touchdowns, but look, this is the game for Steel Canyon and those seniors. They know what they're up against. They're going to fight hard, and let's just keep this game within 2 touchdowns, Steel Canyon. Keep it within striking distance. Anything's possible out there. But I'm going to be going with Helix in this game by 2 touchdowns.
All right, Dave, your thoughts on this one?
Same thing. It's going to be 2 or 3 touchdowns by Helix, but don't let that Steel Canyon fool you because they've been great all year long. But I'm still going to have to go with Helix by at least 3 touchdowns.
All right, now we'll keep it over here with you, talking about Grossmont versus El Capitan. El Capitan trying to get back on the winning track. Grossmont really seems like they've found their gear.
Well, Grossmont had a bye last week, so that rested them up. They did a great job against Buena Park. I mean, they destroyed. They're running all over them. I mean, passing all over them. Jamie Odom probably had one of his better games. He got rid of the interception bug in that game because he's thrown quite a bit of interceptions, but I think he's adapting well. The question for El Cap, whether or not still Antonio Alveri, if he's going to take over behind center, or if Wickhauser's going to come back along with Yafet Yokley. That's a huge difference, but they've been playing pretty well otherwise. You got Grossmont at 3-2, El Cap at 2-3. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with Grossmont, and I'm going to go with Grossmont by 14.
Okay.
John, Dave, fans, bear with me on this one. You're going to like this. I'm going to blow your mind.
All right, I'm ready.
These 2 schools have been playing since the late 50s. Over the last 15 games, the series is 7-1. It's pretty interesting. Over the last 34 games, it's 16-2.
Wow.
Over the last 41 games, 19-3. And over the last, since 1967, 22-3. Now, our cracked research staff came up with that, and that was in honor of your dad, because he would just love those numbers. Just incredible. So that tie's going to be broken this Friday night, probably by Grossmont, because they're favored in this game pretty big. But unlike Dave, I'm going to go a little bit different. I mean, we saw what Granite Hills did to El Capitan, so if I'm Grossmont, I want to run the ball with Chevelle Sterling right at El Capitan. I mean, Granite Hills had so much success running the ball. I'm looking for Chevelle Sterling to have a big game behind his offensive lineman, Nick Goshen, Jose Damian, Alex Lisk. We know that El Cap has a good secondary with the Lovato brothers, and if Jamie has some interception problems, why throw it? If we can run, let's run. Get in, get out, get the game won. I like Grossmont by 2 scores.
This is why you need to go to EastCountySports.com, Ramon. Great stats there, digging those up.
And I want to touch real quick on that too. Carlo did have a couple of things to say about the game too. That his goal on defense is basically to take away their screen game. That's their biggest thing for El Cap. They want to take away that screen game. And on offense, they just want to be fast-paced and aggressive.
Okay, well, absolutely. Now, heading over to Valhalla versus West Hills, I find this to be one of the more interesting games in East County. Yet West Hills 4-1. They've literally put on a good string of things. Valhalla, are they up? Are they down? They've really struggled the last couple of weeks. Is this the week that Valhalla gets their mojo going again?
Well, they're going up again, like I said, against a great West Hills team. But I mean, it's a strength of schedule. I mean, they have won 4 games in a row since they lost to Southwest El Centro, which was one of the better teams that they met this year. But this exact matchup last year, Valhalla Pack was beaten badly, 34-0. This year, Wolfpack is 4-1. Like I say, the 4-game winning streak. This is what Coach Casey had to say. Despite their record, they're the best team that we will have faced all year. That is saying a lot considering they played a phenomenal Southwest El Centro. Our success depends on our ability to adjust to a faster physical game than we've seen in recent weeks. So he's basically saying that they're the biggest quality opponent that they've played yet this year. So I'm going to have to agree with him, even though they got Jordan Young, been great. He's got 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's thrown for 455 yards. Don't forget about Cade Weaver, great receiver. And Ryan Jewell, he always pulls something out, whether it be an interception or a great tackle when it's needed. But I'm going to have to say Valhalla by 14.
Okay.
Yeah, that loss to Southwest El Centro doesn't look so bad now on their mark, and I think it's kind of helped West Hills rise a little bit in the rankings. Interesting to note that 3 of those wins of the 4 have come on the road in a row. So hats off to West Hills. I think that shows when a team goes on the road, can win 3 straight times. To me, that is a serious position of success. So I think the equalizer here might be the series history. Valhalla has won 8 out of the last 9 games against West Hills, so I think that could be a factor as well. Valhalla obviously got to find some confidence on offense. They had less than 100 total yards against Otay last week. Otay's good, but that's unacceptable. Unacceptable, really. And so common opponents, Valhalla won at Mount Miguel by 10. West Hills won at Mount Miguel by 3. So maybe that closes it up a little bit, balances the pendulum. Let's go West Hills by 4 points.
Okay. Granite Hills at Santana.
Well, I found an interesting fact, actually. Granite Hills has beaten them so many times. Santana, the last time that they actually won was in 2005. That's when my 12-year-old was born. So it was 7-0. That was the final score, and Santana won that game. There's so many weapons that they have over there as far as the Eagles go. I would say I would depend on the Santana defense. They were tackling real well at Mar Vista. They had a good pass rush, and if they can flush him out of the pocket, I think Jake, and they can stay on him in the secondary. I think if they can contain Jake and they can contain the running game, I think that they'll be in good shape. But unfortunately, altogether, Tyler Gonzalez, William Burton, they just have too many weapons at Granite Hills. I'm going to say at least by 3 touchdowns.
Well, you talk about the dominance, 36-7 all time. The Eagles hold the Sultans in that season, in that series. And here's another thing: the Eagles are already 3-0 against East County teams. They beat Valhalla, they beat Steele, they beat El Cap. So I guess maybe right now, if you look at beating East County teams, first place Eagles. Jake Siegfried rushed for over 100 yards in each of the last 2 meetings against Santana in the last 2 years. So the Sultans, got to get some balance, and they're suffering more injuries in the offensive backfield. I like to think it's been more of a minefield the way the Sultans' backs are going down, so they're going to have to find some running. And I want to give a shout out to, you mentioned the block kicks last week. It was Colton Snipes. He was the sniper, I guess, on the kick rush. He had 4 blocks in 1 game. That's just incredible. I got the Eagles by 13 points.
And I want to touch on that real quick too. He was saying about the backs, they are down to their 5th running back that they have in there now. But Coach Tim Estes did say that he's hoping to get 3 of those backs back and healthy. So that could be a difference maker.
Hopefully this week.
Yes.
All right, another fun one. Mount Miguel at Monte Vista. Not a lot of acreage separates these 2 schools. They've been playing each other for a very long time. And this should be another fun one. Both teams coming in with similar records. Mount Miguel 2-4, Monte Vista 2-3.
Yeah, they call it the Battle of Spring Valley or the neighborhood game. They're so close. They're within, I think it's maybe a mile in between the schools.
That's a crow flies, man.
But Coach McDade, he talked quite a bit about this last night. He said it's the first league game, a very pivotal game for both of us. Mount Miguel's been within a few minutes and 10 points of possibly winning every game that they played this year. So they could have won. They could have been undefeated actually right now. Shamar Green, running a large dose of Shamar Green, could be exactly what the doctor ordered. Open up the passing game for quarterback Mugget B. Miller, who is also great with his legs and his arm. Wide receiver Santino Pacheco, who was the ECS Athlete of the Week a while back. He's always money for them. And then he had, as a matter of fact, when he was Athlete of the Week, it was 5 catches, 50 yards, 13 tackles, a touchdown, and 2 sacks. And that was in the 15-6 win over Chula Vista. Another thing that Coach McDade said, they're a very well-coached team, run their system well, and this running back kid is the real deal. And we're going to have 11 hats on him all night.
Of course, that running back kid is Javon McClendon, the junior who carried 33 times against Mount Miguel and rushed for 146 yards and 2 scores in that game. And that seems like a huge workload, but that's just another day at the office for Jamon, and that's what's going to happen again this week. He's going to have over 30 carries, and they're going to try to own the clock and keep Mount Miguel off the field, and that's the way that they're going to go about it. Hopefully they can mix in a pass here and there and get a big play. No, I don't think any team's going to get over a 2-score margin in this game. They'll keep it close because of the way Monte Vista plays. We've seen even against tough teams, Monte Vista is able to keep it close. You mentioned, John, these two schools have been playing a long time. How about 56 years? These two teams have been playing, and some more tidbits for you in honor of Bill. How about the last 34 meetings have been split right down the middle, 17-17, as well as the last 20 meetings. They're 10-10, but Mount Miguel's won 9 of the last 13 matchups. Mount Miguel is probably the better team. The computers have it so close, I think that they've actually split on who's going to win this game. So I think that Mount Miguel's a little bit more dynamic on offense, so that would kind of favor them for me. But this is the 3rd straight road game for Mount Miguel on a 4-game road swing. Now, granted, it's just across town, but it's just the preparation, going out and having to play in front of the other team's fans. And last year was a homecoming upset, so I'd like Monte Vista to pull this one off. I've got them by a point.
Okay. Now,
I agree with that too. I was just sorry about that, John. I was going to also agree. The same exact 22-21 Matadors.
all right. You guys are in sync, definitely. Chula Vista and El Cajon Valley, not a league game, of course, but El Cajon Valley just 1-4 on the season. Hope to maybe try to get another win against 3-3 Chula Vista.
Yeah, El Cajon Valley, the biggest thing with them is ever since the game that they put all of their energy and all of their emotion into after the change in coaching staff with Paris Pisonia leaving and going over to Vice Principal Nick Williams. I mean, the whole dynamic of the offense, everything has changed up. I just wish that they could regain all that excitement, all that emotion, and put it into this game against Chula Vista. I mean, Chula Vista is 3-3. But they still have running back Daryl Davis. I mean, he's dynamic. If they can open up some holes for him, he can score quite a few touchdowns. Then you also have the running back and outside linebacker, Mikael Garner. I mean, the whole thing with this is they need to be healthy. Brandon Robinson, Andres Robles, he's probably the best center out there. And if he can anchor that for them and open those holes, I think it's all about the running backs and all about the defense starving off the points from Chula Vista, but I hate to say it, I'm going to say Chula Vista by 14, unless they get that emotion back.
That's fair enough. The status of Mikael Garner is the big question going into this game. You might remember he had the knee injury against Crawford. He tried to return. He really couldn't get anything going. He did play in the next game against Sweetwater, but just for a few plays, he was not effective. Then they had a bye. So if Mikael, hopefully he can be in there and give them a chance, because Chula Vista is playing a tough schedule, and they've fared pretty well, the 3-3 record. The Spartans do have that upset win against Morse on their resume, so I think that shows their talent a little bit. But Mount Miguel beat Chula Vista 15-6 on their home field with a real staunch defensive effort. So I just want to mention senior Ronald Hullum. He's kind of been one of the guys that have stepped in for Mikael, and he's done a nice job in there. The Spartans don't pass real well, but they have a bevy of backs that rush combined for over 200 yards a game. So that's what El Cajon Valley should focus in on, stopping the run, and hopefully staying in this game. I've got Chula Vista by 3 scores.
Christian 4-1 and 0-5 Mission Bay. This one probably a pretty quick one to talk about, I'm guessing.
Christian High has there's so many weapons. I mean, they did have that loss, which I will say, I picked them. Ramon picked Santa Fe Christian, and I didn't see something like that happen. I mean, that was just amazing. But it was the athletic director, Beezer. He did say they know us better than anybody, and if anybody's going to beat us, it's going to be those guys. But at Mission Bay, West Hills was down there earlier this year playing Mission Bay. They beat him considerably. I think the same thing's going to happen with Christian. Brad Jeremiah, Alonzo Richardson, wide receiver Alex Gonzalez. I'm looking at 34-10 Patriots, maybe more.
Okay.
I just intimated that Santa Fe Christian had a good chance of beating them, but I thought Christian might have enough. The game was at home, and Santa Fe Christian won that game 30-7. They had the bigger team. They forced Jeremiah to do things he wasn't comfortable with, getting to him, pressuring him, chasing him out of the pocket. And you know what Santa Fe Christian did? They celebrated big time right on the visitor stands on Granite Hills Stadium. So keep that in the back of your mind in the future. But yeah, and it was well-deserved. Santa Fe Christian, hats off. They were totally impressive. I left before the game was over because the game was on the internet. I said, I'm sorry, Christian. We're just not getting it done tonight. But anyways, they're going to bounce back against Mission Bay this week. The Pats beat them at home by 30 last year. The Bucks have only scored 27 points in 5 games this year. They've been shut out 3 times. So that wasn't necessarily a terrible loss now against Santa Fe Christian. Christian's going to get healthy here and win this one by 4 scores.
Okay, 2 and 3 Mountain Empire at Hamilton, loading up those buses and heading out waste for this one.
Yeah, you know, I couldn't find too much on Hamilton. I don't know too much about them, but I was talking with Coach Mullins, and he was saying that the injury bug has been killing them. I mean, they're looking for a game of redemption on the road. Anza, California is where they're coming this week. I do recall Coach Van saying about how awesome it was to have the Red Hawk faithful fans, though, because they travel real well. Mm-hmm. So they have a lot of their fans that'll get on those buses and travel along. So that might pick up their spirit a bit. But they said that Coach Don said that we still have 1 key injury on the offense and 1 on the D line. Charlie Saley, he'll be out for 2 more weeks. Our replacement he said his replacement players are doing the best that they can, but without Blake also, I mean, he's out of the game, and he just said it's a lot of replacements. Hamilton, who has a similar record, is coming off winning against Newview Bridge High School 27-18. It appears that the Bobcats give up a lot of points on defense and have only scored, I think it was 54 points in their last 5 games. So with that being said, even with the replacement players, Mountain Empire 21-7.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a straight shot up to 79, guys, to Anza, California, in case you don't have your app out there. But anyways, last year Mountain Empire won 41-15. In that game, Gabriel Hydorn, now the quarterback at Mountain Empire, scored 3 receiving touchdowns in that game. So he's going to be the man throwing this year. And you mentioned the injuries, but one guy I'm going to take on my fantasy team this week is Dallas Prince, the junior, to do some damage and maybe get in the end zone once or twice. Versus Temecula Prep, I love these matchups when you go to the common opponents for these games you don't know too much about. So, versus Temecula Prep, Mountain Empire won 48-0, and Hamilton beat Temecula Prep 7-6. So I'm going to go with Mountain Empire by a touchdown.
Sounds like a fair guess right there. And our last one in local prep action, Foothills Christian at Horizon Prep.
Yeah, certainly. Last week the Knights went to Avalon, if I remember correctly, and they had a great time out there because they won. They won by 20 points. Sophomore Tony Miraz, he scored 2 touchdowns. Foothills Christian led 24-8 at halftime. Elijah Bartolome, he had a touchdown and a conversion in the game. Horizon Prep, that's in Santa Fe Christian, not to be confused with the other old Horizon that doesn't play anymore, but this is their first season, so they're just kind of getting their feet wet. Here's my common opponent stat for you, and you'll probably like this one even better. Foothills Christian beat Borrego 54-0. Horizon Prep lost 58-14. I've got Foothills Christian by 100. No, Foothills Christian by 5 touchdowns.
Okay. Well, always going to be good games no matter where you go. I think it'll be fun for all the East County fans out there. Once again, it's time for another segment of Under the Lights with Coach Hutch, talking about what it's like to be a coach when league play starts and you're playing teams that the schools have a lot of history with each other, and just how much fun it is and how rich of a history we have here in East County with all our high schools.
Welcome again. Huran Hutchinson here, Under the Lights. This week topic, I wanted to try to stay on a positive note and talk about what coaches like me out here in the East County absolutely love, and that is traditional East County Grossmont Conference football. Now that league season starts for both leagues out here, we get to see some matchups where quality football is being played on campuses all throughout the East County. Now, we've run into in the last few years a number of issues where teams in your first 4 to 5 games of the season have a really hard time scheduling each other. And a lot of teams are playing out of conference, out of state. But this week we have East County teams playing East County teams. Traditional rivalries out here in the East County where teams play each other, where you have the rivalries. Grossmont seems to have a number of rivals, from Helix to Valhalla to Steel Canyon, and Granite Hills has a number of rivals between Grossmont or Valhalla. As a person, as a coach, or even as a broadcaster that has been involved in a quality East County rivalry, the Steel Canyon-Valhalla rivalry, I coached in or broadcast almost every single one of the Hammershaw helmet games from the time that we brought out the Hammershaw helmet for Valhalla or Steel Canyon. And also coaching in those games against Granite Hills from Valhalla or those games against Grossmont from Steel Canyon. There's high-end quality excitement football that goes on between the coaches who are all friendly with each other, or the players who all grow up together and they compete against each other. It is awesome to be a part of it. And it was great to be part of teams that got beat by massive Helix teams, and also been great to be part of teams that were lucky enough once every 10 years to beat a Helix team. East County football is awesome, and I hope everybody enjoys it and goes out to a game this weekend.
All right, thanks, Hutch. Of course, it is time to talk about some Griffin football.
Yeah, I went out last week and checked out Grossmont. They took on College of the Canyons, and I was thoroughly entertained. 29-28, College of the Canyons won the game on a last-second touchdown. Take a look at it right here. Pass to the corner of the end zone, right at the pylon. It just felt inevitable that maybe Canyon was going to go down the field and score to win the game. It just one of those feelings. You've been there. You've all been there before. In the first half, it didn't feel like that at all. The Grossmont defense dominated so thoroughly. Canyons didn't even score until there were 30 seconds left in the first half. It was 10-7, but you got the feeling that if that defense kept it up, and the defense has been playing so well, that they could come away with a victory. Brad Cagle ended up with 409 yards passing. Alex Dockery had over 100 yards receiving. Cagle actually kind of outdueled Brito, the quarterback for Canyons, who's gotten so much pub. But 2 turnovers and one bizarre play that kind of switched the momentum of the game was Canyons was going in for the touchdown. They fumbled. A Grossmont player could have just fallen on the ball right at the goal line, may have been a touchback. They might have been stuck at the 1-yard line. He tried to be a hero and pick it up and maybe go for a 99-yard touchdown. Instead, the Canyons player dove right in, got the touchdown. He should have just fell on the ball. He was trying to make a big play, and that happened. Got to suck it up this week, because who's coming to town? Number 1, Fullerton. And they're clicking as good as they've ever clicked. They're 5-0 right now. They won last week 57-0. It's pitched a couple of shutouts already so far. So the defending state champs are coming in. I like them to beat Grossmont, of course, but hey, Grossmont has had some success. They had some success against them last year. The score was out of control. I don't remember, but it was like 70-30. Something like that. So I've got Fullerton win this game. Get there early if you want to see some exciting football.
All right, well, it's going to be a tough one from them, of course. But once again, we thank you so much for joining us here on the East County Sports Report. As always, all those great details, wonderfully written articles on eastcountysports.com, so go check that out. Of course, Fridays we'll be throwing out our East County Short Report, so make sure you look at that. Those are up-to-date highlights as they happen. We just thank you so much for joining us here on another East County Sports Report.